How is everyone? I hope you are all well. So, look, we have another case, which is it sadly looks like it could be heading in the direction of a similar kind of circus that we've seen with the likes of the Summer Wells case, and that is Dylan Rounds. Now, Dylan Rounds is a little bit older than Summer. He is 19 years old. And the issues that we're seeing here is that it seems that there is a little bit of a detached situation within the family. It would appear that a PI was hired, and it was hired by another family member, kind of who'd gone behind the parents' backs, and they've made accusations about Dylan's mum, which is Candace. And look, before anybody says,
I'm not another bloody Candace.
Look, there's nothing kind of with that name, I'm sure. But look, Dylan was 19 years old when he went missing. He went missing from his remote farm. Now, looking into the case, it doesn't appear that there is anything kind of nefarious there whatsoever. You know, Dylan is not, I wouldn't say your typical 19-year-old. You know, he's not a party goer. He's not a, you know, someone who has got loads of girls or boys around him or anything like that. This is a young sort of, how can I say, he's focused on a specific vision. The farm that he was on is something that he is developing himself with future sort of inspiration and aspirations of developing the whole area. He wants to be away from, even though he's not completely, you know, he's not an anti-government person, he is just one of these that wants to live out of, you know, out away from all the drama and the rubbish and the bullshit that comes with it. So look, there isn't really anything in this boy's kind of past or what you can see that would say, look, there's something that could have spilled over. There has been little arguments within kind of the work situation, but these are the last one, which was with a guy called Don. Don. Not another one. I'm sure his name was Don. But look, this happened about 6 weeks before Dylan went missing, and that was kind of knocked on the head. You know, there's nothing bad about it, there's nothing there, and there's nobody kind of floating around in the background that has got it in for Dylan, but he literally just vanished. Now, the FBI have got involved now, and the frustrating thing with this case is what we're hearing again is, look, when local law enforcement are involved, now things tend to be happening very, very slow. Like in the Summer Wells case, we've still got questions like surrounding the cars, whether the cars were pulled in, and things like that. Now, Dylan went missing at the end of May. Now, they're saying that it wasn't until the FBI came in, which was 17 days later, that they then pulled all the cars in, the vehicles, and started looking at them. So what were law enforcement doing, the local law enforcement? Why did it take the FBI to get involved 17 days later to start pulling these trucks in and then start looking at them? Now, there doesn't seem to have been any evidence of struggles or anything. The only thing that was found on the site was a pair of work boots, which were around a year old. They were not, you know, you wouldn't have thrown them away, let's put it that way. They're not the sort of, they weren't in the condition that would have said, look, he's thrown them away and bought new ones. There was a small speck of blood, similar to what you would get perhaps if you had a nosebleed and a fall over, but it has been confirmed as blood. They haven't said whose, they haven't confirmed any testing or anything like that, but they have said that there is a small speck of blood on the boot. But it would appear that these were thrown behind a rubbish area that was renowned, actually, for somewhere where they would throw rubbish and they would burn rubbish. So it kind of would go hand in hand with the theory that perhaps they were thrown away by Dylan and he had bought new ones. But it was questioned with his parents, with his dad specifically, and he was saying, no, that's not the case. You know, they had loads of life left in them, and I don't know why I'm still talking about a pair of boots. But that is all that was left there. Now, what the family are basically saying is, look, FBI are involved. They are quite concerned that things are going to go down the route of this massive, massive circus. They've obviously seen other cases unfold. I would imagine that now they're in this situation, they are on social media, they're looking at what is happening, but they have pleaded with people, look, stay away from the drama, stay away from the speculation. The dad has made quite, again, we're looking at a situation with law enforcement, that is that people are reaching out to dad and they are saying, look, your son is here, or they're giving him rabbit holes to go down, basically. But it was one specific comment that was that someone had only reached out to him because they had gone to law enforcement and nothing had been done with it. So I think there's just a little bit of concern there that the law enforcement aren't perhaps taking some things seriously. And look, we know from what we've seen with TBI and Rogersville, that the whole situation there is that there is no doubt going to be an abundance, and I suppose it is sifting through what is valid, what isn't valid. They were questioned recently regarding his mental state, whether suicide could have been an issue, and they have stated that that is not something that has ever crossed their mind. There has never been any issues with his mental health. And what I will say is you can't completely rule that out, because we know that you don't always exhibit signs of it for it to be there. Some people are just very good at hiding it. But I think what they're saying is, look, he had a lot of plans. He was a very happy young lad. You know, he had everything and had an idea of what he was doing in the future. So there wasn't anything that would sort of raise any alarm bells. There isn't any. Now, the father did say that he has been getting tips regarding him being held in rooms and all sorts of things, but they are just pleading. Look, they don't mind about being sent tips and things, but he can only do so much, and it's going to get to the point where he is just swamped over, and he is sort of pleading for people to try, like I said earlier, is just avoid the drama. If they have not said it themselves, if you haven't seen it coming out of their mouth or through an interview or a press release from them, then take that information with a pinch of salt. Let's try not to make this case go in the direction that we see or we've seen recently. You know, Dylan, at the end of the day, he's a 19-year-old boy. He needs to be found. It would appear that something is happening. Someone out there somewhere knows something. And, you know, like I say, there are these bits that are coming up in the background where there's accusations being thrown around within the family unit. And I think it's important that we try not to latch onto these things and just see it as it is, and that is that something has happened, someone knows something out there somewhere, and, you know, we need to try and help sort of steer that in the right direction where we can. But no doubt there will be things come out, and if I can, then I will let you guys know, for those of you who are interested in following this case. But that was Dylan Rounds. Went missing at the end of May. Strangely just vanished from his farm. The last sort of contact he'd had was via telephone to his grandmother, where he was basically saying, look, it's raining, I've got to get my grain truck in to make sure that the grain in the truck is kept safe. And that would appear that that was the last communication that anyone had with him. Now, like I say, FBI are now involved and things seem to be moving in the right direction. It has been upgraded to a criminal investigation, which does mean that the family get access to an array of different resources to help with that. But obviously, it's a very worrying time for them, because as soon as it goes into that, the realization that this is very serious comes to mind, and they start thinking what that could entail. But like we say, something happened, someone knows something somewhere. So if you do know, please ring into FBI and just say, look, we've got a valid tip for you. We've seen something, we've heard something, and it needs to be checked. Let's try and keep that in check. But for now, I'm gone, and I shall see you all in the next one.